Rebonjour à tous pour ceux qui rejoignent les rencontres du développement durable. Nous allons tenir cette masterclass sur la transition juste, sur la façon dont cette transition écologique et solidaire peut être socialement, équitablement répartie. Pour en parler, Gabriela Ramos et Mohamed Younous, et comme on s'étend du Mexique au Bangladesh, nous allons tenir cette session en anglais, et donc je vais vous présenter nos deux orateurs en anglais. Good afternoon, good evening, I should say to Mr. Younous. You are live from Bangladesh, where you are staying today. You should have been with us, but COVID-19 is remaining a difficulty for international travel. I remind to all our public who know you already that you received the Nobel Peace Prize in 2006, as you were the founder of the Grameen Bank, one of the leading movement for microcredit, and we are very pleased to host you. It is a thanks to our co-organizer Montpellier Business School, which with you are usually working. And I'm pleased to introduce you to someone you must already know, Mrs. Gabriela Ramos. Gabriela, I'm very pleased to host you on this masterclass. I remind to our public that you're the Assistant Director General of UNESCO. And prior to that position, you were also at the OECD, another institutional partner of the Open Diplomacy Institute for this Rencontres du Développement Durable. You were there at as the Chief of Staff of the Secretary General and the G20 Sherpa. I must also, I'm very proud of that, say that you sit on our advisory board, which met last week to further discuss how international progress can be achieved on the SDGs. Well, this masterclass is about just transition. And as you all know, our societies are very divided over the transition. It is the case in France. This crisis of the COVID-19 is very divisive because of the previous high level of inequalities. And I'd like to ask for your own perspective on that division from where you stand in Bangladesh or from Mexico. Gabriela is working at the UN, and Mohamed as obviously an international experience that makes it very relevant to tell us about what is outside in our neighbors. May I start with you, Mr. Mohamed Younous? How do you see this transition happening in Bangladesh? Is the society also so divided as in France?
Well, thank you very much. Excuse me. I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly, sir.
Okay, thank you. I'm delighted that we could meet in the virtual world, online, and thank you for inviting me. Of course, this corona pandemic is everywhere. It came throughout the whole world, and now it's reigning the whole world. It's no sign of its disappearing. So same thing happened. What actually happened through pandemic is immediately it revealed all the weaknesses in our society, in our economics, in our thinking process. So this is a good time to see visually what is being talked theoretically, what the people's life look like. For example, as soon as the corona came into each country, the many people at the bottom level of income, those who survived with their own initiatives, who hang through their nails to survive their daily life, suddenly see themselves completely incomeless. No income for them, no food for them. So it's not in millions, it's in billions of people. So people who lost immediate income level. So that was very vivid. We saw how weak our economic system is. It cannot take care of millions and billions of people at the bottom. So I hope this draws attention to it. That also draws attention to the very ugly situation that we face of extreme wealth concentration. While we are talking about people at the bottom not having any income, not having any food on their table because of the social distancing and all the stoppages of all the business activities. Those who were daily income earners, they had no income at all. So why we had created an economy where people at the bottom, almost like 60-65% of the people are in that category, where the richest people own bulk of the wealth of the entire planet. 1% of the population of the entire world own nearly 99% of the wealth of the entire world. What kind of economics is that? So this point has been driven home very vividly, very clearly, that how weak we are in our thinking process, in our daily process, how our business idea, how our self, who we are as a person. Economics told us that we are driven by self-interest. So as a result, we are teaching them in the classroom that they'll be self-interest driven people. The whole world would be driven by profit maximization. So there is no consideration of collective interest, only personal interest is the key to thing. So that came out very vividly. So I would say Corona has done something very important to us, showed us how fragile we are, how our thinking process is wrong. And now we are trying to go back to where we are coming from, the kind of economics that we created. And I raised the question, why do you want to go back? This is a terrible world that we are coming from. Corona has done us a favor to stop us from going there. So now that Corona has stopped us from going there, we should be thinking about going someplace else. So this is what we're talking, no going back. That will be the first decision that we have to make.
So we want no going back. And actually, the UN Secretary General always speaks about the time for action as we move forward the 2030 agenda. Okay. In France, we have had a survey very recently showing that as we mark the 5th anniversary of the SDGs, 2/3 of the population is expecting the SDGs as a framework for the relaunch of our economy. I'd like to hear more from you. You are in a very different country than ours, and you have a global outlook on the economy. Why is it so important that we mark the 5th anniversary of the SDGs from where you stand?
I was saying that this SDGs, the 17 goals that we have, this you can look at as all the problems that we have created by our system. So there's a list of problems. That's why we now have to solve the problem. So one way, the economic machine that we have created, they keep on creating this problem, creating problem of unemployment, problem of global warming, problem of wealth concentration, problem of healthcare, all the things that you list in the SDGs. These are created by the system. So now we go try to fix them. I said, that's not a good way to do that. You first try to stop the machine, which is creating that. So we go back to the fundamentals of economics, why we're having the global warming. We know everything about global warming. This is not something unknown. This is not a secret. We know what is global warming, where it is happening, how fast is it proceeding, who is contributing to the global warming. So if you want to do something about global warming, you have to stop those people who are creating those global warming. And the business is the one who is creating global warming. And the big businesses are contributing big way in the global warming. So it's very much known. Whether we want to fix it or not, so it's a question of our decision. That's why we say we don't go back. If you go back, you have to support the same system, same companies, same businesses to do the same thing, create more global warming, expedite the process of our ending on this planet. And that's the process that we are going. So I would say focus on who is creating the problem. And that's where we have to go. We see the businesses have to redesign themselves. This type of business that we continue to do will continue to produce more global warming. This business that we create will continue to create more wealth concentration. This economic machine that we build, that we teach, we promote in our classrooms, will continue to do the same thing. I try to remind people, if you go by the same road, we'll always end up at the same destination.
Of course.
Now, the destination is a terrible destination.
And I'd like to ask you, because we are speaking from France, though I speak in English, and in France, the global warming you were talking about is obviously visible and tangible already, but doesn't sound as dangerous as you may witness it from Bangladesh. And I'd like you to maybe witness from that and tell us how it could change the life of millions of people in your country from a very, very different, in a different way than ours, the way it could endanger your country. We have many discussions during this week about the relationship between climate change and security aspects, and of course this is one of the key features of a just transition. Can you tell us how it could impact your neighbors, your family in Bangladesh?
Yeah, when it comes to global warming, there is nothing called Bangladesh, there is nothing called France. We are one planet, one home. If it goes, everything goes. There is nothing global warming for Bangladesh, global warming for France, global warming for somebody else. It's the same thing. We are same home. The basic thing is our house is burning. And that house is lived by Bangladeshis and French and Mexicans and Europeans and everybody else. So we have to, the fact is the global warming making this planet unlivable. It's unlivable not for Bangladeshis. It's unlivable for everybody who lives on this planet. And we are told that very soon we will reach 1.5 degrees Celsius warming, and that will be a limit that we can tolerate, somehow survive. It will be extremely difficult, but very, very difficult to survive on this planet. And this will happen by 2040, 20 years from now. And if you press it, if you don't do anything about it, it will continue. And by 2050, the global warming will reach about 2 degrees Celsius. Then we reach the point of no return, meaning that no matter what we try to do, we are done. The world becomes unlivable for all human beings. So I think it's a very narrow way of looking at it, whether Bangladeshis are better off or French are better off. And so these are very narrow things. The whole thing is created by the businesses that we have created. Or if you don't agree with that, find out who is creating it. Because we know everything about the global warming. Who is contributing how much? We are told fossil fuel is contributing 80% of the global warming. And how much is the fossil fuel is located? Bangladesh doesn't produce global warming. Bangladesh become the victims of global warming because Bangladesh doesn't have much of a fossil fuel to deal with. Neither it produces it, only as a consumer it has a fossil fuel. We'd love to change ourselves into other fuel and so on and so forth. So we become the victims, and as a result, Bangladeshis become global or the climate refugees because our living conditions become extremely difficult. So we have to find some other places to go where we can live a little bit safer than what we are in Bangladesh. So millions of people have to find their homes outside of Bangladesh and so on. So these are a local ramification of the global thing. So we have to go to the basics of it, where it is all happening. Who is doing it? Who are these fossil fuel people? Who are these businesses creating that? Why are we doing that? And what role I have as an individual in stopping that global warming? I can say that I'm not going to use a fossil fuel. That's my decision. And as a result, I contribute to improving the global the situation of safety and security of the planet and so on. So I would say, so far as global warming is concerned, we should not look at the details of what is the difference between France and Bangladesh. We have to work together, stop the whole thing. Otherwise, this thing will not stop. It will continue, and we have to identify those who are producing it and those who are creating it and stop them. And we have to redesign our very concept of business itself, not only with the fossil fuel. What is a business? Is the money making is the only purpose of business and let them do whatever they want to do and destroy the whole planet? Or there is some responsibility of it? I talk about the social business to solve problem like global warming rather than make personal money out of it. So it's a non-dividend company. And this is what I've tried to promote, that we can teach in the classroom. There are two kinds of businesses. Let people decide which kind of businesses they want to go. If they want to destroy the world, they can go and make as much money as they want, and they can destroy the whole world. Or they can protect this planet so that we don't have to become an all-profit maximizer robots of profit maximizer. That's not what we have to do.
You have many allies in speakers of that event. We have many CEOs getting here to commit to exactly what you say and call for action, other firms to take their own responsibilities. I'm also very glad to hear that because unfortunately so far many members of the industry keep saying it is the responsibility of consumers to drive the industry towards something more aligned with global warming objectives. And I feel it a bit awkward to hear polluters saying it is the fault of consumers every day. But let me get back to this notion of fair transition, because the more global warming will be difficult, the more the transition will be unfair. And you earned the Nobel Peace Prize in 2006 because of your work and your daily achievements to help the bottom of the pyramid. Can we talk a bit about how this crisis we live? Is it the sanitary crisis we are in with the coronavirus? Is it the global warming crisis we are in that you described? How will that affect the people of the bottom of the pyramid? And I'd just like to share that figure. Then 56% of the French people, because we are speaking for French people right now, are fearing of getting into the poverty trap because of that crisis. How do you see solutions in that context for these people to get up out of that crisis?
Not in the corona only showing the crisis. Corona didn't create the crisis. Crisis is created by the very system that we have built, very economics that we built. You see, France is one of the richest countries in the world. And why 56% of the people should be poor? Tell me, what's wrong? So the wrong thing is the way we design the economics, the concept of economics. So we have to go back, redesign the economics itself. What do we mean by economics? What do we mean by business? What do we mean by an entrepreneur? What do we mean by job? Everything is designed in a wrong way. And as a result, we produce the wrong result, continue to do that. As I said, we go on from the same road, we come to the same destination, same result we produce. We cannot produce mango in an orange tree. These are two different trees. We are trying to say, we'll plant the mango tree, but we want to have the orange out of it. You can't do that. We are always planting the wrong tree and expecting some right result. It won't happen. So we have to go back, what kind of thing that we should do or undo, change it. So I'm saying that the corona has given us an opportunity to make it happen, that we can redesign everything. Our banking system, you raised the question of poor people. Why people are poor? Is it the fault of the poor people? I am always indicating that, look, poor people are just like any other people. There's nothing wrong with the poor people. And I give the example of bonsai. You know the bonsai tree, the small plant that you have when you take a seed of a tall tree and put it in a flower pot and let it grow, it grows. Potentially, it can be a very tall tree in the forest, but you put it in a flower pot, so it grows only a little one. Looks exactly like the one that you saw in the forest, but it grows only 1 meter high, nothing more than that. We call it bonsai. And we see the replication of the actual tree.
Sure.
I said, poor people are bonsai people. Nothing wrong with the poor people.
And sir,
simply system doesn't allow them to grow. Yeah.
You speak about growing the bonsai, which I do like, not only because I love bonsais personally, because also I've been devoting the last 10 years of my life to make sure that young people have a voice at the global policy conversation, including at the G20 that Mrs. Ramos has been involved so long away. I hope she will be back in a very short moment, but let's speak about how you can empower young people to lead that change you're calling for. You've been involved very much in inspiring young people. I've seen you on many screens at the One Young World Summit every year. I'd like to know, we are listened by many students, including those of our co-organizer, Montpellier Business School. Could you let us know about something positive, something hopeful that we can share, that you would address to you, young people and to youth in general, to keep acting positive on beyond the crisis we've been describing so far?
Well, for young people, the message is very clear. the older people will not do anything. They have created the problem. Now you have to solve that. That's why not only you talk about the young people, you see the teenagers. You remember the teenagers marching on the street in every city, sure, calling themselves Fridays for Future? What was the message they were giving? They were saying our parents are absolutely selfish. They are responsible. They're for our destroying our future. They have stolen our future, and our parents and grandparents all taken away the future from us. So they were asking to return the future for them. Why are they blaming their parents and grandparents? Because they did the wrong thing. They have created a world which has made it more dangerous than they inherited it from their previous generation. So we have to hear the voice of these young people, that we have to admit that whatever we are doing it wrong. If you keep on saying that, no, it's okay, we'll correct it on the way, it's not like that. You have to redesign the whole thing. And for the young people, my message is, I said, look, you are a lucky generation. You are the most powerful generation in human history. It's not just a lucky generation for us on this planet right now. I said, of all the generations that we had in the past, you are the most powerful generation in the entire history. Sure. Not because you're smarter than any other generation, because you have the technology in your hand. You look just like any other human being, but basically you're a superhuman being. So first figure out that you feel like a superhuman being. If you know you are a superhuman being, then ask yourself, what is the use you make of your superpower?
Gabriela Ramos, I'm very sorry to have heard that you had connection troubles to be with us. We've been going with Professor Yunus along this crisis of the coronavirus and how it affects social justice. And we were just about speaking about how to inspire and embed the young people in that change. I know you're very sensitive to the involvement of young people in the global policy conversation. You've been with us at the G20 Youth Summit last year, and as the G20 Sherpa of the OECD, you have been listening to young voices along your journey at the OECD, and now at UNESCO you are still very much dedicated on that. Could you let us know how you would inspire youth to keep going the road of the Agenda 2030? We are about to get discouraged because of this crisis and the fact that it's getting to a dead end now. What message of hope would you send to those who listen to us?
The message is straightforward. I feel that the young generation has very powerful voice when they went into the streets, and now they're gonna go again into a strike, a different kind of strike, to demand the policy that will help us to address the shortcomings of the economic model of justice. So it's not only about thinking about the young generation, but engaging the young generation. I feel have shown us how much they are also the sources of the solutions, how they can provide with very innovative thinking, and how powerful they can be in terms of carrying forward the protection of the environment, but also their engagement with those that are left at the bottom of the income distribution. And in UNESCO, we have this priority, which is exactly to engage, to consider people agents of change that they are. And one of the inspiring stories that are coming out of it is all this solidarity that the young generations are showing in providing solutions, not for the bigger picture, but they can contribute to the signing of policies of the government or business sector, but to grassroots activities that are having real impact. And I feel that they are also showing much more passion. So my message is pretty straightforward: just keep on doing what you're doing well, and showing that you have much more sense of duty, sense of responsibility than many of the elders that are around.
And Mrs. Ramos, circling back to this idea of a fair transition, a just transition, school is playing a very decisive role in that matter. And last year, when we were working together on the G7 youth group, we had this OECD study about the fact that when you are born at the bottom of the pyramid, you need 6 generations to get to the middle class, which is obviously something that prevents us from having hope in any public policy. As the coronavirus crisis has increasingly worsened that trouble because of young people prevented from going to school, what is the UNESCO doing, or what is UNESCO recommending to make sure that school remains a key player for a fair transition, especially for those young people who expect a world that is at stake with climate crisis?
Well, UNESCO has been very active in the education debate. Actually, it was the very first institution to launch a coalition for education. And actually, you can follow that with the hashtag learning never stops. Because it was not only about calling on governments to increase their capacity to reach out to those that were really being disconnected from the learning process, but also to have other partners, the business sector, the unions, universities, the academic teachers, very strong links with teachers, because they are the ones that also are having a very strong part of the responsibility. So the fact is that we need to understand that keep the learning process going is responsibility of the whole society. And I would say that exactly as we define our priorities on how to support those that are more vulnerable, we will need, when we overcome this uncertainty that surrounds us in terms of what is going to happen with the virus and what is going to happen with the decisions that need to be taken in the health sector. But once we overcome the situation, it will be very important to do a good mapping. The fact, as you say, if you are in a family whose parents did not reach high-level education, you have 15% chances of reaching that level. Whereas if you are in a family that reached that level, you have 65% chances. So it's just there from the very beginning. It depends on how you are born. It depends on the zip code you are born. So the call, if we want to keep our society together, to avoid they continue building these divisions and these clashes and this radicalization in so many ways, we will need to prioritize those that are at the bottom of the distribution. We will need to provide more resources for schools that are in disadvantaged areas. We will need to send the best teachers to those schools. And it's the way we manage the education systems. But this is the call that we're doing. Now it's for solidarity. It's not time for all as we knew it. It's for solidarity. And I would actually quote my dear friend Kailash Satyarthi that it's time to globalize compassion.
We start receiving questions from our public to get to know more on the advice as wise people you could share to our young citizens here in France. And we have a question from Jean-Baptiste that I'd like to address to both of you, and maybe starting with Professor Yunus. Jean-Baptiste is asking us, in facing that so complex crisis and that so complex to achieve transition, where should young people should start today to make a change? And I'd like Professor Yunus to start answering that question, and then Mrs. Ramos.
I would say the young people, the way they are, as they were marching on the street by saying that their parents and grandparents have still stole their future, they should continue in that mode of defiance. They should not inherit anything that their parents and their grandparents have been teaching them. That's probably wrong teaching. So they have to find their own path, what they have to. So defiance should be the core of the young people. Defy everything that is being passed on. Don't take it for granted. This is the path. Because these things, whatever the thinking that has been created over years, that is passed on to your education system, may be the seed of all the trouble that we have already created. So we should not take them as it is and see which one works for you, what kind of world you want to build, and pick and choose the one that works for you. If it doesn't work for you, don't take it. No matter how big the scholar is, how big the powerful in your family is, doesn't matter. So you have to identify yourself as an independent person, free from the old thinking. So getting out of the old thinking is the best way to create the new world. You have now a world of all the problems with the global warming, with the wealth concentration, with the unemployment through artificial intelligence. So you think about creating a new world with the zero wealth concentration. There should not be any wealth concentration at all. So if you follow the same path, you'll go to the wealth concentration. You reverse the process. When you reverse the process, then you come to the reverse of the wealth concentration, so that wealth is shared. So instead of having the global warming, you should be aiming at zero net carbon emission. So zero wealth concentration, and zero unemployment. So if you head for that, you have to reverse everything that you see in front of you, go the other way. So that's the direction you have to make. So taking what is being taught traditionally will not get you anywhere in the right direction. So you have to defy all the existing way of thinking and designing and conceptualization.
Thank you, Mr. Yunus. I know it's late in Bangladesh, so I strongly appreciate the fact that you keep us on track, on time too. Mrs. Ramos, I'm turning back to you again. On top of self-agency that Mr. Yunus has called us upon, what would you advise for young people to do to start acting on that transition?
I would say go and vote. I would say think about the democratic processes. Brexit occurred because the youngsters did not go to vote. They need to understand that the future is in their hands in terms of when they go and select governments. If we talk about the political economy of decisions that we need to make in the 80s, in terms of more progressive tax systems, or in terms of changing the energy mix for the climate change, the fact is that we have very strong vested interest. And the only way to overcome those vested interests is for youngsters to participate in democratic processes and to make their voice count. And I think that's a very important element. But they should also continue to engage in the society, in the information, building their own information to advance solutions that are sustainable. Let me also share with you that I'm very worried about the fact that we are in the context of increased disinformation or fake news, and on decision making, and many governments in the world are not based on science. So I would say continue to pursue science-based solutions, and this brings the very emblematic impact that Greta Thunberg had in this debate, saying, "Don't listen to me, listen to science." We are in a world that science is being ignored. So I would call on the young to continue making sound science count, and fight disinformation, fight fake news. And third point, because we are in this so unique world, we need to continue showing solidarity. And so for those people that are better off, is don't go for just individual progress. Look for those that you can help. There's always somebody around you that need your help, and don't close your eyes. It's very important that those that are in a position to help, go and help and show compassion again, as I said before.
Thank you so much for your two closing words, I feel like we're speaking about enlightenment, self-agency, aiming at a 000, get to vote, be aware of fake news, support science-based policies. That sounds very reasonable, and I guess that reason is a key driver for change here. And I thank you for recalling that. We have many scientists, social scientists, physical scientists in our panel for the next sessions. Thank you too for being with us today. I'll turn back and switch back into French because we are getting back to Montpellier. Cette journée co-organisée avec Montpellier Business School continue. On reprend la prochaine table ronde sur le thème « Transformer le capitalisme » à 17h pour parler de la finance, et on terminera cette journée avec les élus locaux de Montpellier et de l'Occitanie. Merci à tous, et encore un très très grand merci à Gabriela Ramos et Mohamed Younous de nous avoir rejoints depuis les Nations Unies et depuis le Bangladesh. Bon après-midi.